But just be careful, you got time, be patient, explore your bodies together and make sure that everyone's happy and safe and da-da-da, right? Okay, so girls want to get fucked hard. They fucking love it. Girls love dick, bro. They just do. So, do girls like rough sex? This is a very interesting topic. It's very cringy, right, when you discuss sex, especially like more taboo stuff, like really rough sex. Do girls like it? Well, the first problem with this topic is that, well, besides being cringe and, oh, he said pussy, he said tight pussy, he said hard dick, he said smash that pussy, that's cringe, right? You got to get past the childish bullshit first. Then the second barrier to, like, understanding this is the extremes, right? So if I come on here and be like, yeah, girls love getting pounded hard, some people are going to be like, not all women, right? It's always the fucking first response. You'll have girls say that, not all women, right? And it's like, I don't know. I kind of feel like every girl that I've encountered likes hard dick and like rough sex. But here's the thing. When women are leaving comments and they say, well, I don't like that, what they're really meaning is either with you, because context is very important. Like, okay, let me put it this way. Like if you walk up to a random girl in the bar, right, and she's not attracted to you and you just start talking about sex, she's going to be like, oh my God, you're so creepy, right? Is she saying that sex is creepy? Or like, oh my God, that's so disrespectful, I'm not a slut. She's not saying that sex is slutty or that I'm ashamed to admit that I like dirty sex or anything like that, right? But it's because you're the person talking about it. You're the context that's involved. It's a very personalized topic. What's kind of being insinuated by you talking about sex is you're implying that maybe like you can get to her on that level and talk to her on that level and connect with her on that level. So what she's saying is no, not with you. But if her favorite fuckboy who fucked her brains out years ago and she was always in love with him and just couldn't get enough of sex with him were to come up and be like, hey baby, you remember that time when I was like fucking your throat and spit was coming all over and then I bent you over and raw dog you in the ass, she would be like, oh, and her pussy would just get wet because he's in that context with her, right? So when she associates those like things, then she associates it with him. But if some random woman is watching this and some fucking douchebag, this guy is talking and essentially telling her, right? Because when you're watching a video, it feels like I'm talking to you. But what I'm really doing is I'm talking to a lot of different people. But so the woman's watching this and like, who's this fucking prick telling me I like rough sex? Is he calling me a slut? Right? All these fucking narratives. Think about when you watch videos. Like, you take this shit really personally. That's why people leave mean comments on videos. You ever thought about that? You ever seen like comments on videos? Be like, why are people getting so fucking pressed about this? Something about the video triggered something real personal inside of their head or in their heart. So a woman is watching this and she gets pressed about it because some guy basically accuses her of being a slut. Because that's kind of the like side implication of like, all girls love rough sex. They want to get their hair pulled and slapped and called a whore and da-da. All the shit that I'll talk about. They'd be like, oh my God, I can't. This guy's calling me a whore, da-da-da. But then at some point in her life, she has gotten fucked like that, is getting fucked like that, or would be down to get fucked like that because she might just not have opened that side of her because she hasn't found the guy who's willing to give her that, who can unlock that side of her. Because I've been with girls who were like, some of them I'm sure were bullshitting me and like, oh my God, it's my first time doing it. Instead of being like kinky like this or like this, I'm sure, they were just bullshitting me to not look like a slut, which goes back to we call it the anti-slut defense. Like they want to protect against being labeled as that because it has like sexual marketplace disadvantages and blah, blah, blah. But there were some girls who legitimately, I knew it was their first time doing this stuff because you could tell she was inexperienced with this type of stuff. It wasn't an act. You can't really, once you get some experience, it's very hard to bullshit someone who's seen all sorts of girls with all sorts of levels of experience, right? So I could see that, this is their first time, like, you could tell they're so nervous about this and da-da-da. I would open up that side to them. But, bro, for looking from the outside, you would be like, no way, she likes choking on dick and spitting on it and being called a whore and slapped and fucking thrown around and fucking treated like a fuck toy, right? But she was down for it. She was down for it. She was very down for it. And you wouldn't have known, right? Because you think of girls in these terms of like, she's not that kind of girl. Every girl's that kind of girl, my friend. She just hasn't met the right guy or put in the right situation, or even if she was, she's going to lie about it on a random comment on YouTube, right? So that's the barrier when you're dealing with these things, is I'm not saying that every woman in every circumstance is going to like rough sex. And I'm also not saying that every woman only likes rough sex, right? So language is very important. I mean, I shouldn't have to give a detailed thesis with like footnotes on every possible wrong interpretation of what I said, but that's how communication works, right? I could be the most painstaking, leave every detail, and still someone's gonna fucking leave a comment or have an interpretation without leaving a comment that's gonna misunderstand what it is I'm saying. But I'll try my best, right? So I'm not saying that in every circumstance with every guy, girls like rough sex, because you have to be the kind of guy who can get that out of her and make her want to surrender that level of depravity to you. I'm also not saying that girls only like rough sex. So I'm not saying that every time you fuck her, it has to be this way. There are merits to like just a normal fuck session, doesn't have to be super amazing. There's also merits to like really romantic, like sensual sex, right? But I will say that 99% of women who are straight, right? Because we're talking about sex with you, right? Because then you're going to, people just come up with the weirdest like counter arguments. Well, I'm gay, so this video doesn't apply to me. It's like, okay, then why did you leave a comment? I've seen silly fucking comments in my career as a YouTuber. So 99% of girls, straight girls, would be down for very rough, dirty sex with the right guy at the right time, at the right phase in her life, right? So let's leave all the like caveats and things there. But still, pretty much, they all like rough sex. Some of the time. Not all the time, but enough of the time where you're pretty good. You're taking a safe bet if you assume that she'd be down for rough sex. So what does this tell us, right? What is this? Why is this important, right? I guess that would be another. Like, why is this important? Why are you talking about this? Dude, when I make videos, like, it's impossible for me to not have these voices in my head. Because once you see enough comments and enough interpretations of people, those voices are always in your head. And you always have to, like, you want to satisfy them enough so that you can appeal to the broadest audience possible. Because if I'm doing my job, I'm trying to educate people. I'm not trying to look cool or be like, yeah, I fucked a bunch of girls. My job is to educate you. So I want to try to get past as many of these defenses as possible or counter objections, so that I could possibly teach someone who might have some inclinations to not listen to me, right? So it's important to listen to these voices in my head, which sounds fucking weird. But at the same time, I still have to get my point across. So why is this even important in the first place? Well, it's important for two reasons. One, so you can start to have that sex with them, because most girls want a guy who's gonna wreck their shit. Like, not every time. Okay, you know what? I'm going to stop doing the exclusions, right? So if you haven't watched up until now and you give me one of these responses, you fucked up. You should have watched the first 7 or 8 minutes, right? I'm going to talk straight now and not have to like put in a addendum on every time, right? Girls want to walk away from that like knowing they just got their shit wrecked. They want their pussy to get fucking stretched out and torn apart, and they want to just be like covered in your spit or your cum on their face, and they want to have been tossed. Now there's like one more addendum, right? There's levels to roughness, right? So you can just have like a rough fucking, and then you can have like BDSM, like throat fucking, and then you can have like real extreme BDSM, like you're slapping the shit out of her, you know, spitting on her, biting her neck, really slamming into her fucking cervix, right? And it's important that if you're going to be doing the extreme stuff, that you either have a conversation about it before with like very clear boundaries and like safe words if you really want to get super kinky, or at least a slow progression, so that at each point of like increased roughness or depravity, sure, there's a very clear opening for her to be like, wait, let's try this, or no, I don't want to do this, right? You should automatically already be doing that, because sex is a very organic thing. If you see sex purely as a contractual thing, there's something fucking wrong with you. And if you think that a contract needs to be written out for every single time you fuck a person, like you need to rethink like how you see life in general, you know, because some of these people, like if you really take their mentality serious, their argument would be like, if I walk up and kiss my wife and I didn't ask her permission beforehand, like, that's some weird like levels of like, you kind of see the world a little, and there might be reasons for that. You know, people might have trauma and stuff, and I, you know, I've had shit happen in my past that was bad, right? And I don't, you know, we don't want to get into details about it, but bad shit has happened to me in my life. I'm not even just talking like sexual stuff. I mean, just like bad stuff in general, right? So I know that trauma can happen to a lot of people on a lot of different levels and cause strange behaviors. So I hope I wasn't insulting when I was like, there's something fucking wrong with you. But I also want to be like clear that like normal people, right, when you're having sex, you know, you're going to turn someone over, right? You're not going to be like may I turn your butt at 35 degrees? It's just like, hey, I'm gonna like start to move you. And of course, if at any point someone is having an issue with it, then yeah, you know, vocalize, talk. You guys are people, right? Like, there should be communication during sex, okay? And I think some people will be like, well, most people aren't like that. No, most people are like that. Most people are pretty like open. If you found some bad eggs, then you either have a bad judge of character or, I don't know, you know, like I said, you know, I'm not trying to insult anyone. So, but just remember, there's levels of hard sex. So when I'm talking about rough sex, like on the basic level, I just mean like your dick is pounding hard into her. That's like the barest level. And then like there's obviously progressions above it, where you're like pulling hair, you know, you got spit, slapping, choking, all this stuff. As you get to like more extreme, and just ask yourself, what's extreme and what's not extreme? The answer should be pretty simple, right? As you get into that higher stuff, you should either have a conversation beforehand. It doesn't have to be a contract. You just be like, hey, you into this, blah, blah, blah. Or you can be like, you could start out like lightly trying something. Like as you're fucking her, you just lightly, you put your hand on her neck. Like you don't even choke. You just literally place it there. And you just see how she responds. She might grab your hand and like push it into her neck. It's happened before, right? And you're like, okay, we didn't need a contract. That was very clear what you want. So, but just be careful, you know. You got time, be patient, you know, explore your bodies together and make sure that everyone's happy and safe and da-da-da, right? I shouldn't have to say that, but it's good to say it, I suppose, right? Because I want everyone to be safe and happy. So, anyways, now that was my last addendum, okay? I've cleared every fucking counter objection possible, I hope, okay? If you're watching this after and you're like, well, I already covered it, right? So you should understand the nuance that I'm going to be saying when I say pounder pussy. Okay, so girls want to get fucked hard. They fucking love it. Girls love dick, bro. They just do. It's one of the most eye-opening realizations you can have when you start to date women. Even if you want a serious girlfriend or a wife, like this isn't limited to just being a fuckboy either. Like, even if you're looking for someone, like, bro, your wife wants to get wrecked by you. She wants to get fucked. Like the most happy I've seen women, even if we connect on so many different levels, is when I fuck her brains out. Because what rough sex is, besides an extremely depraved physical act, is an act of trust. It is saying, I know that to allow myself to be treated this way, I had to unlock this side of myself that potentially has a lot of shame behind it, and I allowed you to see that side of myself. And the guy has it too. Like, I have to kind of open up this monster who's like, I care about this woman or even potentially love her, but I'm like slapping her, calling her a whore, like putting my dick down her throat. Like, I'm doing something a bit like aggressive here, right? And a little bit of you you have to have like a little bit of like a monster inside of you to be able to do this, right? Like when I'm doing this stuff, these images come in my head, like of me as like this big monster, like they just come naturally. And I'm like, that's very interesting association between this act and that kind of mental imagery. And so both people have to kind of bring out, it's not a dark side. I don't think there's anything evil about it. I think it's just extreme. That's it. I don't think it's necessary because there's no one getting hurt from it. I suppose there's a little bit of physical pain, but what's interesting is that with this physical pain comes a lot of pleasure. So I would just call it edgy. I wouldn't necessarily call it evil or dark. It's just edgy. So the woman and the man both have to allow a certain level of like, I'm going to let you see this side of me that you might just find strange. Like, I enjoy just dominating the shit out of women. Like, I just enjoy, like, being really, really rough with girls. And, like, having them being like, oh, I'm this innocent girl, and you're just fucking the shit out of me. Like, I don't know what about it. It just, like, turns me on in extreme ways. And when I first began to see that side of myself, I remembered I'd left college, and I'd been a playboy and a fuckboy. And I'd done some rough sex, and so I'd done some dirty shit. Like, I would fuck a girl in the ass, come inside of her ass, let the cum out of her ass, and then, like, feed it to her or slap her with it. Like, so I'd done some depraved shit. But I was still at the level of it. I was doing the act just to do the act. Like, I was being naughty, BDSM, whatever you want to call it, just to, like, do it. Then when I graduated college, I was out in the real world, I guess, and I slept with a few women, and some of the first women that I slept with, while I was fucking them, I guess I was just naturally being a little bit harder, but to me it was just normal. But like as I was fucking them, they were like, oh, oh. Like, this is so cringe, but you know, if you're hopefully you're not a fucking child, you're like, oh, it's so cringe, why is he moaning? You know, we're fucking adults here, or hope so. If you're not an adult, you shouldn't be watching this fucking video, right? So she was like, oh, oh. And I was like, are you okay? Like I was like, wait, what's wrong? And I stopped fucking her. I was like, are you okay? And she looked at me like this incredulous, like, yeah, I'm fine. Like, what's up? And I was like, that's such a weird, like, from like, oh, to like, yeah, what are you fucking stupid? Like, keep fucking me, right? And I was like, okay. And I keep going, and she's like, well, oh. And I was like, it was turning me on a lot, right? Like, it was very arousing, but it was almost a little bit scary because I was just like, am I doing something wrong? Like, am I doing something wrong because I'm enjoying this? And I'm like, fuck. And then as I started to explore that and go down that alley and, you know, have fun on those levels, I was like, wow, I'm really like just loving dominating these girls. And then it just, you know, became who I was. And I just like messed these girls up with love, right? But like, you fucked them hard. Like, I've had girls like, there's like, you messed me up. I was walking funny for a day or two, but they loved it. They absolutely loved it, and they would come back for more. And you were thinking to yourself, like, okay, but why do they like this? I don't fucking know. Like, we could get into you could say it's this, you could say it's that, whatever. You know, I didn't want to go into theories of why it is. I guess on its basic level, it's just domination and submission. It's just a tendency towards the hyper extreme possibilities of the masculine and the feminine. But it doesn't matter, because then people are going to be like, oh, are you saying femininity is submissive? I don't want to discuss this shit. Like, I just want to teach you how to fuck girls right, you know, and give girls a good time. I'm not, you know, I don't want to fucking debate. Once you understand this, though, that you really understand that women like getting fucked that hard, it unlocks a whole new level. Like, I've had girls message me like, hey, I want to get fucked like that, but I'm trying to tell my boyfriend that, and he just like, he says he respects me too much. So some guys legitimately just don't understand this. Because some of you might be like, yeah, of course, girls love getting dicked. But like, some of you really don't believe it. It's some shame on his end, right? Like, he doesn't understand. Or maybe it'll break his idea of how women should be, right? So either it's some Madonna whore complex kind of bullshit you got going on, or it's some fear, or it's, you just don't know, right? But once you really understand women like getting fucked, you're going to change. Like, the way you talk to women are just going to see you sexually. Like, women can pick up on things. People can pick up on things, dude. Like, you ever been around someone and you just kind of have a feeling about them, positive or negative, and you don't know what it is. Sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong, right? But sometimes you're right. There's something about them. Like, I don't know. Or like, oh, wow, yeah. Women are just going to be around you, and they're just going to know, like, yeah, this guy would fuck my shit up, and I'm totally down to talk to him more, because that might be what she's looking for at that time. So, understand this in your mind, and this is the first thing. Women are going to love you. That's at the end of the day. They're going to see you as a guy who they know is going to wreck their shit, and they want to get their shit wrecked, and they're going to go to you for it. And everything that you do, everything that you say is just going to be imbued with this new, like, edge, this edginess, right? And you're just going to fuck girls shit up, and they know it, and they want it, and they're going to probably give it to you knowing and expecting that from you. But first you have to understand that they really, really want it. And the only way for you to really understand it is to try it out. But I've already covered all the, like, addendums of, like, trying it out, right? And then the second thing that's going to happen is once you actually give it to them, right? So the one is more of a knowledge and a feeling that girls are going to have about you that comes from you knowing that women want to get fucked up. And then the actual, like, really fucking their shit up, they're going to fucking love you. Like, once you, like, execute, right? And you deliver the thing that they were hoping that you were going to deliver, especially if it's a girl who hasn't had that. It's the first time. Like, sometimes it was the first that I fucked her who was a virgin, and it was her first experience. Fucked the shit out of her. Like, the second time we fucked, I was fucking her in the ass, coming in her, like, just all of it, right? And she was totally down. And then she wanted a relationship, and then I was like, yeah, no, you know. And I was very clear. I didn't, like, play with her or anything. She knew exactly what she's getting into. And she's like, okay. And then, like, I don't know, it might have been weeks later, might have been months later, she texted me, and she's like, I changed my mind. I'm totally down for just sex. It's okay if you don't want a relationship. Because I had sex with someone, like, my second person, and it was fucking horrible, and I want you to keep fucking me. It was just very, like, I've seen the best, and I'm not going back to this. Fuck me. I don't care if I'm just your whore. Like, I'm down for it. Like women are down for it, dude. They just love it, right? So if it's their first time, or even if they have had sex before, and you're, or even if they had rough sex before, right? But you're still going to be giving them what they know that they want and what they really crave. So fuck their shit up. Is there a time for romantic stuff and sensual sex? Yeah, of course. Or just normal sex. Not every session has to be, BDSM extravaganza. But, a good amount of the time, pound that pussy, dude. Fuck her shit up and have fun. Be safe. And girls love it. So yes, girls love rough sex. I already gave you all the addendums, so I can just say it plainly. Girls love getting their shit wrecked, so go wreck their shit. All right. Love you guys. Be careful out there. Be safe. Love women. Love yourself. If you want to check out my texting book in the description below, if you want to text girls, because you got to do some work before you actually end up having sex with them, right? You got to learn how to communicate. So if you want to learn how to text girls, check out my book, What She Really Means. If you want to check out my college book, if you're in college or going to go to college, or even if you're past college, it's a great book with a bunch of fun stories. And it teaches you a lot about reputation and reputation management if you're dealing with a lot of friend groups and girls in your friend groups. And then I have my course, Meet Girls Everywhere. It teaches you how to go out and meet girls everywhere, literally wherever you want. Good old-fashioned way, no bars and clubs, no dating apps, just going out and meeting girls, talking to her for 5 minutes. But I teach you how to do it the right way so you can get her phone number and set up a date. And then if you want to do private coaching with me, check out the description below for a consultation call. We can talk for 10 minutes and see if it's right for you. And it is expensive, so I'll just tell you up front, like you're looking at like $2,000 on the low end, up to $4,000 on the high end. But if you're willing to invest that level of money because you want some good results really fast, because you get the advice that you need, because I know exactly what you need by getting to know you, because I've coached tons of fucking guys and I know how to teach you, then sign up for a consultation call. And either way, like I said, have fun, be safe, love you guys, and I'll see you soon. Hector Castillo, girlschase.com.